let's have a look at your team, Sam, for game week 33 plus. Here is the team. A net 60 because you took a hit. I'd like to know what that hit was.
61.
61 because KDB came on for the one. Of course, again, this screenshot taken before KDB came on. Total points still very good. Overall rank still exceptional at 3.3k. Talk us through your team.
Yeah, Liverpool fine. Bruno brilliant. Rashford I'm happy with. Aaron Wan-Bissaka disappointing but fine. I think I'm fine with him. I'm pleased to have him. I'm a bit disappointed that it came at the time when Justin Blimmenwell got a clean sheet. But what can you do?
Yeah. Okay.
The rest of them, there's some scope for change in there because
go on then.
Well, like you were saying about feeling a bit template. I feel like I'm a little bit template because my rank doesn't really move depending upon, even when St Maximan did brilliant things last week, I still kind of just stuck about. And it's, I feel like if I'm going to really break the top 1k again, which is looking harder and harder to do, I do need a differential in there. And St Maximan was that differential. And this is, I just need to think about it. And I am giving serious consideration to taking Jimenez out. He's got one more game.
Jimenez out? He was essential a couple of weeks ago.
If he doesn't perform in the middle of the week, he will go.
Okay.
As will Rashford. Rashford will become Greenwood and Jimenez will become Vardy for that Bournemouth game. If Jimenez doesn't perform
Which is literally like, who's playing Bournemouth? Let's get him in.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to free hit that team anyway this week.
In actual fact, the more I think about that, Leicester have got players that they pick up those pockets.
Yeah.
They've got Tielemans, he'll pick up pockets. Yeah. Harvey Barnes will get in there. I can see that being a difficult game for Bournemouth, as every game will be for Bournemouth between now and the end of the season. So, you, at the beginning of the live stream, alluded to the fact that you might consider playing your free hit in game week 34 plus. Talk us through what might change for the free hit.
So, what I wasn't going to. There was, at no point was there ever going to be a free hit other than in game week 38. Then, on, I don't know, Friday night, when I was tinkering with my team, trying to decide whether I was going to go for Willian and Pulisic, I was looking at the fixtures for 34. And I was like, Chelsea at Crystal Palace, would fancy a couple of them.
Yes. Chelsea at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I'd still...
No pushovers, Crystal Palace.
No, but not... They just haven't been great since the restart.
Okay, all right.
Man City at Newcastle. Yeah, would fancy a couple of them.
Okay.
Man City at home to Newcastle, would fancy a couple of them.
Yeah.
Spurs,
Bournemouth,
fancy that.
Yeah.
Man United versus Villa, fancy that. There's just a few games out there that I thought, I could definitely go with triple Spurs.
Feels like a nice week to free hit.
Whereas when you look at game week 38, there was a few nice fixtures, but Arsenal and Watford, that's tough because you don't know which way that's going to go in terms of the end of the season and who's going to be up and down. Chelsea and Wolves, again, same thing. That's tough to pick from.
Yeah.
Spurs at Palace, we never travel well there, so that's a difficult one to pick on. Leicester and Man United, that's difficult. Man City and Norwich, that should be fine. Liverpool and Newcastle, that should be fine, but Liverpool might want to give some more medals out, so there's a bit of rotation risk there. West Ham and Villa, there's not as many nice fixtures to choose from in that game week. So part of me was thinking my actual squad is probably all right for game week 38.
What I like about the free hit in game week 34, just looking at these fixtures now, there's a couple of fixtures where, all right, I get what you're saying. You'd pile into Spurs and Man City and Man United. Yes, you would. But there's a couple of teams in there where there's some cheeky little differentials that would propel you into that top 1k. So, for example, Watford at home to Norwich.
Yeah.
If you wanted to pick a Deeney, because he'll go in there and he'll boss that. He'll boss those Norwich centre halves. If you wanted to go West Ham and talk about Bowen and Antonio, like I mentioned before, under 1% ownership. So I think if you constructed your free hit with your main protagonists, as you've suggested, but a couple of cheeky differentials from Watford and West Ham in particular, I agree with you. I think 34 does look like a potentially good free hit game week.
It suddenly feels like the right week to free hit.
Yeah.
And what I was hoping, and I'd always said it would be 38 because we know who's got stuff to play for and things. But in the back of my head, I was never, and I think I've said this a few times on the FPL show and various other places, it was never set in stone it had to be 38. It was always flexible.
Yeah.
And if there became a moment where there were some really good fixtures for a certain set of teams, and those teams were in good form or had stuff to play for, that would be the moment. And it feels very much like 34 plus is the moment. The only caveat on doing it is what happens with Spurs tomorrow night. Because if suddenly Harry Kane gets injured tomorrow night, or the world comes to rack and ruin, then that might prevent me doing it.
Okay.
But otherwise, I am probably doing it.
All right, Pricey is in the live chat. He's saying look at 36 for the free hit. 36 doesn't look too bad as well, but I know why you want to go for 34,
well,
and that is the captaincy and Kane against Bournemouth. So I can absolutely see that. I think in terms of your game week, I think it's not too bad at all.
It's all right.
Your overall rank slipping a little bit, but listen, you're still in the top.
It's slipped by about 200 places, I think. So
it's very, very good
indeed.
It's a bit annoying, but it's worth. So there we go. 64 minus 4, 65 minus 4, of course, because Kevin De Bruyne is coming on. Here is my team for the week. 67 points this week. As I mentioned before, there was that real gut-wrenching moment when Saka scored against my double Wolves clean and wiped out my double Wolves clean sheet with him being third sub and me playing Patricio and Doherty. That stung like you wouldn't believe, guys, but nevertheless, it is what it is. Another area that stung was Burnley giving away that clean sheet towards the end of that game, and of course all the Nick Pope. There was so much Nick Pope Schadenfreude on Twitter, it was ridiculous. But I was sitting there as a Charlie Taylor owner and not enjoying that Schadenfreude either. Trent and Gomez, my double Liverpool clean sheet. What I will say about the Liverpool performance today, despite that Grealish effort right towards the end of the game, and despite some of the maybe jitters we have around the attackers and the rotation there might be, I still feel like Gomez is a nice option if you want to double up.
It's funny, isn't it, with your team? Because your game week in 32 plus, which we haven't streamed since, was pretty much the same team. Did you make one change? Pulisic.
Yeah, I got Pulisic in, yeah.
And it went awful. And yet this week, those same players, the double Liverpool defenders, it's amazing in FPL how that happens.
Gomez, I think the reason I think Gomez is nice is because despite all the rotation that might be going on, if you look at the first 60 minutes of that game today, Villa didn't really get near our goal, really, and we did look pretty solid despite the Grealish effort. I mean, Alisson did play quite well, but I don't think we were ever really under a lot of threat. And all right, put the Man City game to one side. Our defence has been very, very good for a long period of time. And with the fixtures that Liverpool have got remaining, I don't see sides spending a lot of time attacking us or even getting, big chances against us. So I feel like the double Liverpool defence is a nice strategy, given that it doesn't feel like we're going out there and scoring loads of goals between now and the end of the season. But then again, equally, if you have Trent already, do you want to spend another 7 on Robbo? Do you want to spend another 6.5 on Virgil? Well, maybe not. But could you spend 5.3 on Gomez? Yeah, probably.
And it is the only way really to make Liverpool differentials, because you can't really own Salah and Mane at the moment.
Very little upside in Gomez. Yeah. Not gonna get bonus points.
But the clean sheets are there.
But he'll rock over a 6 for 5.3. I'm quite happy to have him at the minute. It's no problem at all having him. Salah gets the 6. De Bruyne has obviously got 1, so I think my final score will be 68. Fernandes captain, very happy to nail that captain.
Finally.
Very happy to nail that captain. And I want to get your views, guys, in the live chat. And if you're watching the replay, get in the comments below. Who do you think is going to be the best captain for game week 34? But not only that, is Bruno Fernandes now a perma cap?
I think you could.
Between now and the end of the season. I think you could leave the armband there for the rest of the season and be pretty happy.
I do too.
Rather than, we might miss this haul or miss this haul. Even if you move it between your Manchester United assets, you might miss a haul like people have done the last couple of game weeks. Stick it on Bruno and forget about it.
He's so exciting. And I feel like even if he doesn't haul, he'll still get you something.
Yeah.
He'll still get you a goal or an assist.
Yeah.
So you're still going to get points. Whereas there's other players that you could put it on, the likes of Jimenez, that may blank. But I would feel confident with Bruno that he's
How are we going to start an FPL season next year with Pulisic, Bruno, Salah, and KDB?
Well, we're not, because you can't afford them all. Actually, when you think about it, last season the reason I had KDB was because I couldn't afford to do it with Sterling, so I had KDB. What will be interesting is, do they reverse the prices on those two next season?
Absolutely. Well, there we go, guys. I was going to play my bench boost, in which case I would have had Calvert-Lewin still to play tomorrow night. Would have had the 10 points from Saka and would have had a nice boost, but nevertheless, didn't play it, kept it for a rainy day, so that'll get played at some stage. But listen, 68 points, pretty happy with that. Overall rank's gone up from 88 to 74k. It's fine. It's a solid-ish game week, and I'm pretty happy with it. So we move on. I think the captaincy makes all the difference.
Oh, yeah.
The red arrows I've had in the last couple of game
better,
weeks,
don't you, as well?
not hitting your captain. You hit your captain, you can good chance for green.
Particularly last week when I had Jimenez captain and he blanked in the first game, and it's just like, right, my game week's going to rack and ruin, and it's only been one game. It goes on for 5 days.
Nightmare. Absolute.